Hello, you wonderful insiders. What do you think about that? I have given you a nickname, and it is the Insiders, and I love it. So, welcome to you insiders. This is episode number 5, and this is super fun and a super special episode because in it I am sharing. I got to sit down the other day with some friends of mine over at the Dadco podcast and have a conversation with them about being a dad. And it was so much fun, and it was such a good conversation. And actually, it was right in time for Father's Day, by the way. Although I think by the time this comes out, it'll be past Father's Day, but that's fine. I still wanted to share it with you all, or share it with y'all, in keeping with my Southern roots, y'all, with that second person plural there. So, in this special edition episode of The Inside Job with Philip Cox, I present to you a recast of my interview with the Dadco.
In the world of parenting, raising kids can be tricky. In the city of Brisbane, Australia, a team of dedicated fathers who share their dad hacks, swap jokes, and encourage others to keep dadding are members of an elite squad known as the Dadco. This is their story.
Phil, how are you
Hey,
doing?
buddy.
How you going? Thank you so much for joining us here at the Dadco.
You're so welcome.
Here at the Dadco, when we have any guests for the first time, we ask for their dad stats. So, so who you married to, how many kids you have, their ages, that sort of stuff.
Brilliant. I am married to the great and glorious Susan Cox, and we have been married for coming up on 13 years this October, and she and I have 3 little ones, not so little anymore. Aria,
No,
who's
they're not
11.
little like mine.
No, they're not little like yours. We've graduated from
You
that.
have definitely.
We've got Aria, who's 11, Porter, who's 10, and we have Levi, who's turning 7 in 2 weeks. And then I was married early in my 20s for a couple of years. And so Mallory in the States, we have a son together named Dylan. And Dylan is about to turn 17. And he lives in America, which is where I'm from, in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you born there? Were you born somewhere else?
Yeah, I was born about an hour and 45 minutes south of Nashville in a little, it's like a Toowoomba-sized city called Huntsville, Alabama. It was a
In the
big
South?
NASA in the South, but it was in the South, very much in the South, but it was the industry was largely NASA and defense contracting, a lot of software engineer type. So it was a bit of a melting pot. So we had people from all over that would move to Huntsville to work, doing military stuff. And so it was in the South, but a little bit insulated from some of the stereotypical South stuff. But it was still definitely the South. And then when I was 20, I moved up to Nashville, Tennessee to pursue playing music. I was drumming.
I
drummed for about almost most of my 20s. I was professionally drumming for a bunch of different artists.
So you moved here for Suze? Did you move here for in Australia? Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got married in 2011, and we've gone through a lot of stuff for just at the time, about 5 years of being married, or just under about 4 years. And Susan's gone through cancer journey two separate times that was very, very scary. We've just been and we've been through the ringer. And at in probably the end of 2016, she just said, "Look, we needed a fresh start. Life was really, really tricky. We were just trying to figure out what's going on, and all of her family is here. And when you're fighting for life and we're fighting for the life of marriage, she's fighting for the life of her life and for the life of our kids. And we said, we need to start over. We got a fresh start. And so for us, that looked like moving to another continent.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, some people it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all of her family's here. All of her support systems are here. The medical system is here, is fantastic. And so, so in 2016, we moved to Brisbane. Yeah. And we've been here since. I got my citizenship in 2022 or 22, I think. And 22. This is home.
So you're Aussie.
I'm an Aussie through and through. You can know because during the Olympics, which we just binged some Olympics.
We love Olympics here.
Yeah, we were jamming on the rings. So it was all Australia all the time.
Oh, for me. Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even the US basketball team?
Didn't watch it.
Didn't watch it. No, you're not a basketball guy. You're a baseball guy.
I'm a baseball guy.
What is your favorite Olympic event?
Ooh. I would say I really, really enjoyed all the heats of the swimming. And I really liked Suze is a serious gymnast. She was a serious gymnast back in.
That's right, she was.
She was she was offered a chance to train for the 2000 Sydney Olympics, and as a gymnast. And so she's taught me all of the words and terms and things, the skills.
And what's judged, and like there's a part of gymnastics where I'm like, how did she get that and not that, and what does all that mean?
Yeah, Suze knows all that, and I pretend to know, but she knows
pretend to, I
pretend to know. I go, yeah, for sure.
Yes, okay, good. So here at the Dadco, what we do is we usually have a bit of a game of a get to know you. Today, we're going to do rapid fire questions. So you have to answer the questions as fast as you can, rapidly. Yes.
I don't do many things. I'm a contemplative. I don't do many things rapidly, but I'll do my best.
No. Well, it's just like my wife. She doesn't do things rapidly, but that's why we marry each other, right?
Yes.
20 questions, rapid fire. Have to answer them quickly.
Hit me.
Let's go. What's your go-to comfort food?
Sea salt chips.
Sea salt chips. Quickly. Early bird, night owl.
Ooh, both. I require very little sleep.
I just can't. I can't do that. I need my sleep.
I can do 5 hours. I'll crash eventually, but 5 hours. I can do 5 hours.
That's crazy. What's your favorite movie of all time? Can be a series.
Yeah. All-time favorite would be The Royal Tenenbaums and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And then series would be Lord of the Rings.
Okay, I know this isn't rapid fire, but once one of my really good friends heard that I hadn't seen The Lord of the Rings before. So he said, and it would be a really good idea if you came over and we watched Lord of the Rings in one sitting. So every single movie, and it was the extended versions of those the way movies. To watch it. Yes.
It's a long weekend.
It is. Well, it was one day.
It's a whole
one day. It was very long. Yeah. And I don't remember anything of it. Coffee or tea?
Coffee until it's tea time. I like my coffee.
So coffee, what's the order if you go to a cafe?
Ooh, small flat white on oat.
On oat. Okay. Yeah. I'm an almond.
Yeah.
Is that
the oat extravaganza?
Is that preference or is that allergies?
Preference. I like a little bit of oaty goodness.
And tea, is it herbal or herbal?
I'm not
as an American.
Yeah.
Or is it like English breakfast?
Yeah, anything. I'll drink just about any tea. I prefer something I can put milk in.
Yeah. Okay. One place you'd love to travel to?
South of Spain or Italy, either one.
delicious.
Yeah.
Any place.
Just like lick the ground, just delicious.
No, everything's delicious. Yes.
Oh, okay.
What skills do you wish you had? A skill you wish you had?
I grew up very landlocked in Alabama and Tennessee, so I did not learn how to surf. And I've gone out with friends, and they said, "Engage your core," and I said, "I think I left it in my other pants at home." I was like, "What core? I don't know. I don't know what a core is. I don't have it wherever it was."
Engage your core. Bring your belly button to your backbone. Cats or dogs?
I have a dog, but I find cats far more interesting.
They are very interesting.
Yeah.
But somebody else can own them and they can still be interesting.
Oh, that's true. And they might somebody else might own them, and you find out that they're like, "Oh, how'd you get on my couch? You live
That's
down
true.
the street." But
that's true. We almost adopted a cat from up the road, and we didn't know that it was from up the road. If you go back to the Dadco early episodes, I talk about it. What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
Documentary style stuff. So it would probably be but a guilty pleasure of those would be something like The Golden Touch, like the King of Collectibles guy, the guy that sells like sports memorabilia and auctions it off. That's fun to me to watch.
Okay,
it's kind of dumb, but that's why it's a guilty
never
pleasure.
heard of it.
Yeah.
And mine's Adam Sandler movies. So
those are great. There's no guilt in that. That's just straight pleasure.
Oh man, it's one of those things that anyway, you love or hate Adam Sandler.
Guilty pleasure would be like My Little Ponies. That would be guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
There's no guilt in Adam Sandler. He's great.
Oh, okay. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, can be alive, can be dead.
Okay.
Other than Jesus, who would it be?
Yeah. Well, you can have dinner with Jesus. It's called solitude.
That's true, and we're getting to that.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's later.
Proof that I haven't done these before. I would go. Mine would be very specific. It would be 1965-ish to 1968-ish Bob Dylan. In his folk era, I could have a long dinner and drink long cups of tea with that man at that iteration of his career when he's getting started.
It seems like a very cool era of now I'm thinking, because it hasn't really been rapid fire, I apologize to the listeners.
Yeah, we're so sorry.
We are sorry, but we enjoy each other's company. I'm going to pick one more thing, and this is might not still be a rapid fire question, but what is the best advice that you've ever received?
The best advice, advice I've ever received would probably be something along the lines of presence is really the answer to just about everything. If I can learn to be present to what's right in front of me and to fully give myself to whatever that is, it answers a lot of the questions of shame. It'll answer a lot of the questions of anxiety, and it stops us from thinking that real life and meaning and purpose is somewhere out there separate to where I am right now. And so when I say presence, I'm also talking about capital P presence. You could also say God. So being in God's presence, coming to presence in whatever I'm doing, including this podcast, if I can give myself to that, then it takes care of a lot of things.
Wow. I think we could finish the podcast there.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening.
That is an incredible thing. I'm almost speechless. Amazing. So we're going to move from that to a segment we call here at the Dadco the Dad Joke Challenge. Is we are trying to find, or I am trying to find, the best joke ever written. and it's going to take a long while because there's lots of jokes out there. Have you got one for us, Phil?
Yes, I have because you did say this to me, and so I did the smartest thing any dad could do. I went to my near 7-year-old and said, "Levi, give it to me." And
yes.
he did. He didn't even think about it. It took him 1 second when I picked him up from school today. I said, "Levi, give me a joke," and he said, "What? Oh dear. Why did the orange stop rolling down the hill?"
Why?
Because it ran out of juice. Yes. I said, "Buddy, that works. I'll take it." And he didn't think for a second. He had it in the holster, ready to go. I love that.
That reminds me of a joke that my kids told me the other day. Sophia and both Sophia and Noah, they said, "Why are chickens so funny?"
Oh, I don't know why.
Because
that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You got to nail it. You got to nail the landing on that one.
You do have to nail the
yeah, that's really good. Yes. That's a very
so there's
good one.
There's two for the quest. The quest. Yeah, if you've got any out there and you're listening and you think that you have a better joke than those two, then send us in.
Well, I did come up with another one if you want to hear it. And
yes,
I came up with this one.
I think I came up with this room and time for jokes.
How do you know that the Pokemon is looking at you?
How?
Because he Pikachu. That's pretty bad. He Pikachu.
He Pikachu. That's funny. Here at the Dad Co, we have a segment called Ask Your Dad, and you're the dad that we're going to ask questions today.
Okay.
I'm going to ask questions. And Phil, the way that you hold the Spirit of God in your life is very inspiring. And it is not, and each time I speak with you, I'm left with so many little nuggets, just like that little throwaway thing that you said before, that I have so appreciative and love that we have actually met. We've only just met, me and you. So that's why I've asked you to come on and share some of those practices with us in terms of spirituality in the home and how you cultivate that. So the first question that I've got for you is, can you describe that spiritual atmosphere in your home, and how would you cultivate that? How do you cultivate that as a family?
I operate with the notion that everything is spiritual. We get to decide whether we're going to tap into that or not. But so the atmosphere in my home is a lot of noise and a lot of running and a lot of big personalities in our 3 little ones.
Yeah.
A lot of high energy, a little bit of sprinkling with a little ADHD, and and everybody wants to be what they want to be. And the challenge with everybody wanting to be, Jesus gives us this beautiful prayer that he teaches his followers that says, Lord, your kingdom, Father, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And we've got a lot of people in our house who are claiming that their will is to be done and everybody else's will is encroaching on their will. And so there's a bit of will on will bumper car stuff happening in our house. And so one of the things to cultivate, Susan and I sat down at the beginning of the year with the kids and on the Christmas holidays, and we said, look, we are going to input and import some axioms, just a statement that we just accept to be true. And so a couple of axioms, and we went with our kids and said, we wrote them all on the whiteboard and said, these are going to be the things, these are the values, the axioms that we are going to cultivate in our home. And we come back to them a lot. And
So do you do that every year? Like, is it a theme for the year, or is it just this year you thought about it?
This was the year, because things were so chaotic and so that we were just encountering so many things. We said, how are we gonna address these big personalities and these big, everybody kind of wanting what I want, kind of thing. And so what we started cultivating as a family, these axioms, and started sitting down and doing these together. We came up with 5, and do you want me to tell you what they are?
Yes, of course.
Tell us. The first one, that life is better when we respond with kindness. It's better for everyone when we respond with kindness. The second one is, we're happier when we're helping. Our third is, we always have enough to share, no matter what, no matter how big our piece is, how small our piece is, whatever we have, it's enough to share. Fourth one is, we're energized by gratitude. We get recharged by being grateful. And the fifth one is, when we do all these things, those 4 things, when we do all those things, we actually experience abundant joy. And if I pull any of my kids and say, "Hey, what's our statement on gratitude?" they'll be able to rattle it off. And so the practice of all those things is beginning to write new narratives that they begin to own, as they say, we're actually happier when we're helping. And if they're not happy, we go, "Well, where have you been helping?" We're happier when we're helping. We're accepting that to be true. So where are you helping? How are you? Because when you're contributing, and we walk through why these things were, we didn't just give them to them. We explained the why for all of them. And when you're helping, and you're doing your room, and you're helping with your bed, and you're helping with your clothes, and you're helping with your dishes when you're finished, and you don't leave it and everything, it doesn't get left to mom, everything get left to dad. We have more energy. We have more time. You're getting more quality time from us. And so everybody, and you're having to do a little bit, but it leaves so much more energy. And what you actually want, you're going to get. Because what you actually want is, come back to it, presence. You're wanting our presence. But we can't give you our presence because we're so busy doing all your crap.
Picking up after everything and everyone.
So we are happier when we help.
Is that something like those 5 pillars or axioms or whatever you called it? Were those something that you came up as a family, or is it just you and Suze, and then you were saying, this is what we're going for as a family? Like what, or is it you as the head of the home, or?
No. Suze and I do headship together, and
good. I like that.
No, it was something that Suze and I we said, what are going to be our values, because our kids are going to be shaped by something. And so we said, well, we can either be intentional about that, or they're just going to be shaped by, but they're going to be shaped. Our kids will get a spiritual formation. We can choose to be intentional about that, or it's just going to happen, but they're going to get a spiritual formation. And so we said, what are the values? And so we sat, I think we probably for a weekend, and while we were on holiday, while we were away for Christmas holidays, and we came up with those 4 axioms and said, when we do these things, our 5th is that we experience joy.
I love that.
And we're very imperfect at following them out, but this formation journey is a slow and steady one. So we're learning as we go.
Yeah.
We fail every day at each one, many times.
And then that's okay.
It's part of the process. Yeah,
it is. So you've got those 4 axioms. So what are some like practices and routines that you've established to be able to follow those? Like you said, there's days where you've better days than others, but is there anything that you've put in place so that they can be met? Or is it like just we threw it up on the whiteboard and hopefully we can meet them?
Sometimes it is that. And in our best days, we've found that everybody really enjoys the Lectio for Families app. put together by Lectio, Lectio. Lectio 365 is
I've
the
heard of
adult
this,
version.
Yeah.
And the Lectio for families is a really great app. And we've really enjoyed sitting around the breakfast table and doing it.
Breakfast. Okay.
Yeah. It can be, sometimes it's dinner, but we try to do it at breakfast. It's great. And when we do it, it's really, everybody really enjoys it. And there's a simple memory verse. There's a simple, but it walks through the same rhythm. And so they get used to that. And then we would, at the end of it, bring up one of the axioms and say, okay, what's our whatever? And we would talk about that. We try to do bedtime prayer. But sometimes you get so frustrated at the end of a night. You're like, it's 9 o'clock. You've got to just go to bed. So we usually will do, if they get in bed on time, we do extended prayer. We'll do short prayer if they have drug it out for an hour. And that's great. And they ask for that. And that's great. One of the most formative things that I find is take a kid with you. If I've got to duck to the shops, if I've got to go grab milk, if I've whatever, take a kid.
Love that.
And put them in the car and have sometimes we'll listen to stuff but like we'll be silly, we'll talk about school, whatever, but whatever it is, like we don't just blast music. We have conversation in the car. Some of my best conversations with my kids are in the car. Yeah.
I love the conversations in the car because they can't go anywhere and they're not distracted by anything. They're not. The trampoline's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah.
I don't really want to sit on the couch with Dad and have a chat.
Yeah.
But so like the car, they're strapped in.
They're strapped in. Well,
they're strapped in. They can't go anywhere.
And I really that's a great practice, and the better practice in the car is me listening to them.
Yeah.
Because when you listen to, man, you start realizing, man, our kids are brilliant. Yeah. And they don't have all the crustiness of 42 years of life on their hearts. And when you give them space to just go, they say some remarkable things. And then they'll tell fart jokes at the same time. And it's fantastic.
I heard the other day at school, you have 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth. So that means that you've got to listen and watch more than you speak. Yeah. And I was just like, wow, I've never really thought about that in terms of like 4/5 of your time should be watching and listening, and 1/5 of your time should be speaking.
Quick to listen, slow to speak. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
You'd think somebody smart.
Somebody smart. That's right. So you touched on it very briefly before in terms of headship. I agree with you. The spouse, like you are partners in life together, moving forward. And like I even look at it in terms of Adam and Eve. That's why Eve was taken out of the side of the male, because it's side by side, you're together. So how do you and Suze and your spouse work together to guide your family's spiritual journey?
Well, part of that shared headship is a genuine mutual submission model that we do. But the way that we have very open communication, and we've worked to cultivate very good communication with each other. And we talk about everything, including, hey, you said that thing and it, man, that really wounded me actually. And I really didn't like it. And that was a really crap thing that you did. And we said, okay, well, let's talk about it. And nothing is off limits. I really feel like I don't feel like you've seen me this last week. I don't feel like you were listening to me when I was saying, whatever it is, good, bad, and ugly. We just talk about everything. And that's easy sometimes, and sometimes it's really hard. But we're committed to being honest about it and being open and vulnerable. Radical vulnerability.
I suppose it's easier now because you've practiced it. Yeah.
It does get easier. Yeah. Yeah.
It gets easier.
You learn that you learn that you can open your heart to somebody and it's going to be okay. Even if it feels tender or you get something back that you don't like, that you can get through it together. It's really, radical vulnerability. We've learned to make that a value for ourselves.
That is inspiring and challenging all at the same time.
Yeah.
I think, I think a lot of people, radical vulnerability. It's hard to be vulnerable, isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
Even with the people that love you the most.
Yeah.
I feel like it's harder for the people that love you the most.
Yeah, because they can hurt you the most.
Yeah.
Because you've got your wells are dug deeper with them. And so when they get filled in, that's a very Old Testament reference. When you fill in a well that's been there for a long time, it's been dug deep. That takes a lot. That hurts. There's a lot more work to undig that than somebody who's just come along and you got a couple of shovels in, of good dirt down, and it's a terrible analogy, but yeah, the more work you have in with somebody, the more years. Yeah, of course, that's where you've given the most to that person, and so if they were to misuse that, it hurts the most. And that's just, but our greatest healing and our greatest wounds come from the people that are closest to us.
But it's important around that. It's important for you guys to have that, isn't it? Yeah, that radical vulnerability, to be able to work together, hand in hand, side by side, to forge.
It's kind of a non-negotiable, I think, for both of us. We wouldn't want anything else, even though sometimes what you're getting back is not what your ego wants. It's what your heart needs. Yeah. And that's the gift of our spouse. They mirror our spouses mirror back to us the version of ourselves that we need to see, not the one that we want to see. But we have to be submitted to that person to allow them to speak into our lives.
True submission. Yeah.
Yeah. Where we're not just getting defensive and bucking up. Yeah. That's where true transformation comes.
We could speak about that for a long time, and I think we'd love to continue that conversation. In what ways do you encourage your children to develop their own personal relationship with God?
I actually don't stress about it too much.
Okay, that's good. It's not your job, is it?
Well, here's what I think. If somebody kind of comes up and says, "Hey, how do I teach my kids about?" I'd say, "Too late. You're already teaching them. You're already with kids
like that.
Caught way more than taught. We are the way you teach your kids to develop a relationship is by living yours out in front of them. And so what's important to me is to show them that God is good, and that inside of that goodness of God, we are safe. And for me to be able to show that to them, for me to be able to demonstrate in front of them through the way I live that God is good and we are safe in God, that means there's way more work for me to deal with my crap and my insecurities and my fears. And that's way more important than me trying to teach them what I think that they should think about God. If I deal with I deal with all my stuff, then I can actually model that goodness to them.
Yeah,
that's way more important than me just sitting down and going, okay, now let me show you some scripture and let me give you a lecture. Yeah.
It's
more than taught.
important.
We are already
but
teaching.
yeah, we are teaching
Yeah.
them in every. If we're not praying with them, if we're not praying ourselves, if we're not
Yep.
getting into the Word, if we're not,
Mm-hmm.
like what you cultivate this amazing. I don't know what it is, but it is, you hold the Spirit so well. But yeah, like that's in your everyday sort of thing. So I think that's that is really encouraging, but challenging again.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's about
sadly,
us,
it comes
isn't
back
it?
to us.
Yeah,
It
it's
comes
about
back to
us.
us.
It's not about
it's not about fixing them. They're all right.
Fixing them. It's not about getting the latest self-help book or kids devotional book or whatever. It's about
because I definitely am not pro like the subcontracting out of my parenting to a system or another thing, you know? And if I want my kids to be kinder, then the first place I need to look is, where am I not showing them that kind of kindness? Where are they not seeing that modeled with me? And then there's still stuff that they got to deal with, but I start first with going, well, am the ideal that I'm holding up for them, am I giving them a good demonstration of that? One of my personal things, rules that I set for myself is that I don't my kids don't get in trouble or get a consequence for anything that I've also done that day.
I like that.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, if they're doing it and I've also done it that day, they probably, whatever they're doing, they probably learn from me. So I need to deal with my own crap. And then my kids will be all right.
I heard something that they're mirroring what they saw like 1 to 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So
that's what I mean. It's too late. You've already taught them.
You've taught them 2 months ago.
Yeah.
By your actions, by your modeling.
Absolutely.
So yeah, what we want in our kids, we can't just say and not do. We actually have to do before we say.
Yeah. And usually most of the stuff that we say, we want our kids to be this, oftentimes we're just projecting out our own stuff anyway.
Yeah, so true. We could talk for a long time, but I think we'll finish with this one, because this is, as dads being busy, I really struggle with this myself, is how we personally carve out time to connect with God amidst that busyness of work, family. Me as a teacher, like, it's literally go all the way through the day until I hit the pillow. You tell me that it's okay to have 5 hours sleep. Is that how you carve out time for God?
No. Yeah.
What was how would you describe your personal relationship and how you cultivate that?
Okay. Yeah. It's a very important question. I'm in the business of reframing things. So I don't carve out time for a relationship with God. I ritualize everything.
Yeah.
So when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm doing that as an act of prayer, coming back to the presence thing. So if I'm brushing my teeth, my prayer is, Lord, I'm cleaning out all of the fuzzy, gritty, leftover stuff from my last few meals or last meal or the night I've been asleep. There's also so much gritty, fuzzy stuff that's on my heart. And would you continue to scrub that away in my heart, just as this toothbrush is scrubbing that off of my teeth? The ritualizing a drink of water. You take a drink and then you just feel in the immediate sense of refreshing, especially if it's a cold glass of water, that immediate sense of refreshment that comes down your throat. So multiple times a week, I'll have a drink of water. And while I'm taking that drink, I'm saying, Holy Spirit, would you refresh my soul? All the dried, cracked places in my heart, just as this water is refreshing me, would you refresh my spirit? I ritualize everything when I can. Every time I'm thinking about it, and if it's a driving in traffic, um, rituals are about taking an ideal and finding a way to put concrete action to that ideal, to land it in everyday life. So if I have an ideal that I want to believe the best about people, I ritualize that while I'm driving and somebody cuts me off, and I go, oh, I'm going to ritualize that and say, oh, perhaps they had a really good reason for doing what they just did. I don't know what's in their heart. I don't know what's in their mind. I don't know what's in their life and their circumstances, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt
rather than
get
waving their fist,
yeah,
getting offended.
You just encroached on my will.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And
your will.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so the same kind of, I remember, so I work as a spiritual director inside of my pastoral role. And that's just a way of sitting with people and helping them hear the movement of God in their life. And I was serving as a spiritual director at a men's retreat 5 or 6 years ago. And a guy came and he said, I used to have this really rich spiritual life, and my time with God was really profound. And then I got married and I had kids, and now my kids are a bit older, and man, like I think they were probably like maybe 3 and 4, but he was still having to do a lot for them. And he said, I just don't have time for my spiritual life. And I just, I put my arm around him and I had immediate compassion for him for sure, because I felt his pain and he was tears in his eyes, and
it's real.
And I said, bro, like, man, your kids are your spiritual life.
100%. Yeah.
There is no more sacred activity than you putting your kids to bed at nighttime. Your kids are not an interruption to the more important thing that you could be doing with God. Your kids are the most profound way that you can connect with God if you will open your eyes to see from that perspective. And so I really try my best to ritualize and make holy and sacred the most mundane aspects of the details of my life. And when I do that, God is just right there in all of it.
Wow. Can we finish on this? What advice would you give to someone? So you're obviously well practiced in this routine. Someone like me, I'm brushing my teeth and I'm thinking about, I need to get this and this and this before I go to work. I'm at work drinking some water, thinking about, what do I need to teach for the next, that's what my mind is.
Yeah.
So what
and
advice?
Mine too, a lot of the times.
What advice would you give to dads or anyone who's listening? Obviously, it's a dad code, but there's a lot of people listen. Different people. What advice would you give to people to get from that sort of mindset of thinking about the next thing and being present in the moment to be able to remember to worship God with whatever we're doing?
A great practice for developing those kinds of things. At the end of a day, I'll tell you two things. The one is called the prayer of examine, and it's an ancient prayer, and it's not really a prayer as much as it is an exercise. And at the end of a day, you just simply very quickly roll back through your day, and you kind of, they say, do it in reverse. Start, okay, I just sat down in bed. Where was I at before that, before that, and before that? And you kind of just do a quick reverse, like you're scrolling back on a movie throughout your day, and you just go, you ask a couple of questions. Where was I most at peace? Where did I
Mm.
find the most joy?
Mm.
Where did I feel loved?
Mm.
Where did I have the opportunity to show love? Where did I have the opportunity to show love, but I chose to not be generous with my love and attention? And you just kind of roll through, where was God present
Because of the
through my day?
fruits.
Yeah.
Is that what
And
you're
you just
saying?
go,
The fruits of.
yeah, that's right. Because where I felt the most peace, where I felt the most love, God was there.
When
So what
was
was
I
going on in those
kind?
places?
Mm.
Yeah, when was I kind? When was I most present? When was I distracted?
Mm.
And then the doing that over several days and weeks and months, as you do that practice, you begin to notice, not in retrospect, but you begin to notice in the moment. Oh, I
Engaged
feel
in the
really
moment.
peaceful.
Yeah.
I had this thing happen, because our lives actually happen in patterns, and we
Mm.
think and feel in patterns. We just oftentimes aren't aware of those patterns, but we go, oh, this is that thing I know, and I wasn't generous with my time here, but I'm going to be today.
Mm.
And you find yourself doing that. That's one thing. So the prayer of examine, and then and you can look that up. It looks like examen, but it's examine without the e on the end or something like that.
Is that Catholic?
And yeah, it's a Jesuit practice. It's from
Yeah.
the Saint Ignatius of Loyola from the 1600s. And real new stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if it ain't broke,
yeah.
if it ain't broke.
And then the other one is just pick one thing. Say, you know what? I like the water thing. It's something I like, things that I'm doing already. I like something that we don't have time to add another practice in our life. We don't have time to add. So what is in my hand, and how can Jesus walked around going, oh, look, there are some birds. This is like the kingdom. Oh, look, there's a field of flowers. That's like the kingdom. Look, there's a fig tree. That's like there's a poor widow. She's like the kingdom. Begin to see and begin to ask the question, what in my life is like the kingdom? How is this? And what all that means is, how is this like God's love and his kindness and his grace and his all of that? And how can I take what's already in my life and turn it into an act of prayer? And if it's just the water thing, do that one thing. And if you do it twice in a week, oh yeah, Phil, like a weird guy on the podcast said, when I drink a water, go, Lord, refresh my soul when I drink this water. And that's it, man. You start doing that. And I'm telling you, it really works. Wow. It really works. And for that moment, you go, oh, that was refreshing. And then you go about your day and you do it again. And you go, and then you find one thing.
Okay. One thing.
One thing.
If that's what we remember from this podcast, find one thing to remind you about.
Yeah.
God, and start that ritual.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we're going to leave it there. We could go on this for a very long time, I think, you and me. So that means that we're going to have to get you back on.
Okay.
Yeah, to talk through some stuff. Awesome. But before we go, are you able to pray for us, just to encourage the listeners out there? Pray.
Sure, of course.
That would be awesome. Thanks, Phil.
Absolutely. Lord, you're as close as the very air that we breathe. We often hear prayers and pray prayers that say, Holy Spirit, come, God, come and meet us. The reality is that you are here. We are the ones that need to wake up to the reality that you're already here, wherever we are. So would you give us just a little bit of an inkling to remember to wake up to our coffee in the morning and our drinks of water in the afternoon, and to our bedtime routines. And may we see the details of our lives not as interruptions or as mundane, but as holy. May we see our kids and then the attention that they need, not as an interruption, but as the most holy and sacred act that we could perform. And be with every man that's listening, every mom that's listening, represents so many stories that have so much complexity. And you hold our complexity. If you are one thing, you are complex. And you can hold our complexity. So may every ear that hears this know a bit more of the depth of love and a kindness and safety that they have in your presence. Amen.
Amen. Amazing, man. Thanks so much for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you.
And helping us just have a glimpse into how to cultivate spiritual life in our own life and in our families, and how to work together with our spouse, our partner, our wife, our husband, and even the single parents out there, how to cultivate spiritual life in their family, and in every moment, in every day, they can see God in that. So thank you for that encouragement and challenge for us all. And I cannot wait to have you back. Thanks,
Thank you, man. It's been great.
Talk to you soon.
Wow. How great is Ben and the folks over at the Dadco? They're just the best. That was such a fun experience, and I'm so grateful that they let me come on and have a chat. You should seriously go out and follow these guys. They do such good work, and all their episodes and all their guests are so much fun to listen to. You can find them. If you look them up on Instagram, it's at @thedadco_. And if you look up the podcast, it's just the Dadco podcast. And I think there's a full stop after co, but the Dadco podcast. Go like, subscribe, do all the things, because you just should, because it's such good stuff. So until next time, peace and joy.